It is Friday, the 14th of April, 2017. I'm in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and they are having a Passover Seder supper this evening, starting at around 5:30. So I decided that it would be as good an occasion as any to protest against the fact that the Unitarian Universalist religious community, specifically the Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston, hired Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors litigation lawyer to falsely accuse me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel and clergy sex abuse cover-up legal bullying that seeks to hide such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers. So, in other words, Unitarian Universalists, again, specifically the Unitarian Universalist Association, but in that the Unitarian Universalist Association is basically represents Unitarian Universalists in North America, to say nothing of the world, then, pretty much, anything that the Unitarian Universalist Association does, one can reasonably say that the Unitarian Universalists do more generally. So yes, they misuse blasphemy law to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape. So we're going to go and grab a couple of picket signs. This one's an old classic that existed even before the Unitarian Universalist religious community falsely accused me of blasphemous libel in an effort to hide pedophilia and rape. This one's been around for quite some time, but that's because Unitarian Universalism has been an unsafe sect for quite some time. So I noticed the wind blew down my Church of the Image Tarnishing Ministers sign, so we'll just put that back up. So this sign originally said Church of the Image Tarnishing Minister. It was singular, and it referred specifically to Reverend Ray Drennan. But I decided to pluralize it and broaden it out to various other Unitarian Universalist ministers in her own way. Reverend Diane Rollert, the current minister of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, has tarnished the image of Unitarian Universalism, perhaps not quite as badly as Reverend Ray Drennan did, but she's nonetheless tarnished the image of Unitarian Universalism. But this is broadened out even further to the greater Unitarian Universalist religious community, and that basically brings in a whole bunch of other image-tarnishing Unitarian Universalist ministers. I could start naming names, but for the time being, we'll just mention Reverend Ron Robinson, who just in the last couple of weeks was arrested for child pornography. Not producing it, but accessing it and being involved in online chat lines, that had some, from the sound of it, pretty horrific child pornography. In fact, according to news reports, after he was arrested, he confessed to having fantasies about raping children and even murdering children. So that's Reverend Ron Robinson's most recent tarnishing of the image of the Unitarian Universalist Church in America. And here we have Unitarians cover up pedophilia and rape, an entirely accurate statement. Yes, really?
Well, I hope you didn't take any pictures of me, Robin. You don't use my image with my permission.
Well, put it this way, I have every right to do so. I haven't done so yet, but when people tell me I don't have permission, I usually make a point of doing it. So
really?
You might want to run off if you don't want your picture taken. So that's I'm not quite sure who. I have an idea who it might be, but if it is who I think it is, she's aged considerably. But yeah, it's I believe, a longtime member of the Unitarian Church of Montreal who said she didn't want to appear in my video or have her picture taken. And the interesting thing is she's actually walking away from the church, which is kind of unusual. Well, maybe she's walking up to see some people. That could be it. Yeah, I think there's some people looking at my other chalk slogan there, and she might be saying a thing or two to them. So anyhow, yeah, as she said, really, Unitarian Universalists do in fact cover up and deny pedophilia and rape, even in apologies for clergy sexual misconduct. The moderator of the Unitarian Universalist Association outright lied about sexual abuse of children by Unitarian Universalist ministers in what was supposed to be a formal apology to victims of clergy sexual misconduct. He minimized the extent and seriousness of clergy sexual misconduct in general, but he outright denied that any children, whoops, the wind's getting the signs here. He outright denied that any children had ever been molested by Unitarian Universalist ministers, or at least he denied any knowledge of this. His exact words were, there were no incidents of abuse of children or elders in my investigations. This was inserted into the middle of his so-called official apology for clergy sexual misconduct. So what's he saying? He's saying that he investigated clergy sexual misconduct, and in his investigations of clergy sexual misconduct, he found no evidence of sexual abuse of children by Unitarian Universalist ministers. Well, this is an outright lie, because I personally told Jim Key about several cases of sexual abuse of children, and he could have easily verified what I was telling him as being true. I also find it extremely hard to believe that no one else who knew about clergy sexual misconduct of children committed by UUA ministers did not tell him about this in his so-called investigations. So just a brazen bald-faced lie on the part of UUA moderator Jim Key in an effort to conceal the fact that a certain number of Unitarian Universalist ministers have in fact, abused children. In fact, they've even raped children. And some of them have even been charged, tried, and convicted of such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. So, got a bit of a wind problem here. It's blowing the signs around a bit more than I would like. I'm trying to place them in a way that they don't get blown around so much. But anyhow, we're here to protest. There's already been a few people who have shown up for this cedar, as it were. We're just going to grab a picket sign or two and circulate with the picket signs. So in my right hand I got unsafe sect, and in the left hand Unitarian Universalist perversion of justice, sucks you asterisk you. So we shall circulate here a little bit. Got somebody leaving, and a motorbike there, or a scooter. So we'll just circulate back and forth and show the picket signs to the passing cars and pedestrians and so on. And we'll see how many people show up for this Good Friday Cedar dinner at the Unitarian Church of Montreal. As I said, it's supposed to start at 5:30. It's probably getting close to 5:30 now. And maybe just check the old cell phone here and see what time it is. So, yeah, 5:17. So, 13 minutes until the official start of this Passover Cedar dinner that's somewhat early, but Unitarian Universalists are pretty good at just doing whatever they feel like in terms of Jewish and Christian religious traditions. They're basically, a lot of the Montreal Unitarians are atheists. They don't even believe in God. And the ones that aren't atheists, most of them are agnostics. So even they don't believe in God, but they're not sure, they're not quite as certain that God doesn't exist perhaps as the atheists are. I really don't know how many Montreal Unitarians actually believe in God in one form or another, but I'd say it's a minority. And quite frankly, as far as that minority go, they're really out of touch with, the precepts, of Christianity and Judaism and so on. They're out of touch, in fact, with the fairly secular precepts of Unitarian Universalism. A lot of them can't even recite the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. Some of them can't even name more than 1 or 2 of the 7. So they're basically, I think religious posers is a good phrase to use. People who put on appearances of being religious but aren't really. And they're certainly hypocrites who do not practice what they preach. So anyhow, we shall continue to circulate here and let the cyclists and the pedestrians and the passing cars and buses see the picket signs. But yeah, I just thought, because this year in particular, it's the 175th anniversary of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. It was founded in 1842. So this year, the Montreal Unitarians are celebrating their 175 years of existence. I'm celebrating a full 18 years worth of protesting outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal. And the only reason it's 18 years and not 19 years is because Reverend Diane Rollert managed to get a restraining order against me on the basis of some perjurious lies and paranoid fantasies. Basically persuaded one of the least competent judges in Quebec court to grant a restraining order against me on essentially nothing. There was really no valid reason for Reverend Diane Rollert to be very, 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 very frightened of me, which she claimed to be in her depositions to the police and in her testimony to the judge. I'd never said or done anything that should cause Reverend Diane Rollert to be very, very frightened of me. But she made this claim, and I suppose it's possible she does suffer from paranoid fantasies and really was frightened. But based on other indications, I think she just lied. I think she just lied to get the restraining order to force an end to my protest. And in her mind, she was expecting the restraining order to be like unlimited forever, like once she got that restraining order, that was going to be the end of my protest forever. That was going to be a definitive, cease and desist of my protest. And a lot of other leading members of the Unitarian Church of Montreal believe that as well. Well, what happened is she got a 1-year restraining order against me, which is the standard. That's basically the way restraining orders work, is they last for 1 year. And then, if there's reason to continue them or whatever, well, then they can be extended. But, you might have to go back to court. In fact, you definitely do have to go back to court to get an extension if you want an extension. So as far as I was concerned, there was no valid reasons for that restraining order at all. Basically, I had a nice 1-year holiday from protesting and enjoyed it very much. I came back and resumed my protest the Sunday after the restraining order expired. And what's interesting is Reverend Diane Rollert came out of the church, walked right up to within a few feet of me with like hardly anyone with her, like basically on her own. There were a few other people around, but she didn't come out with any kind of, protection, shall we say. She didn't come out with a bodyguard or anything. She walked right up to me within a few feet, and she said, Robin, you have no right to be here. So she didn't seem the least bit frightened of me then, So I told her, well, no, actually, restraining order is over and I'm resuming my protest, and if you want to go try getting another restraining order, be my guest, you know, I'll contest it again, we'll see what happens. So the upshot is that the Unitarians certainly did try. What? Okay, sorry. The Unitarians did in fact try to get the restraining order extended. I was even threatened with arrest by a sergeant detective, but I stuck to my guns. I said, you know, there's no valid reason. There was no valid reason for the first restraining order, let alone an extension. If you want to extend it, well, you know, let's go to court again, see how that turns out. And it never went to court is what it comes down to. In fact, I filed a complaint against the sergeant detective that tried to intimidate me with threats of arrest, because his intimidation was basically out of alignment with police ethics and so on. So basically what happened is a SPVM sergeant detective got a slap on the wrist from the Police Ethics Commission, and that was pretty much that. You know, I've been protesting ever since. There's been subsequent interventions by the SPVM where they did try to dissuade me from protesting with threats of arrest or threats of tickets and so on, but I always stood my ground and contested their claims, which are usually bullshit. And you know, so far so good. I haven't actually had a ticket since 2010 or even earlier, and I haven't been arrested either. And there's really no reason to arrest me as far as I'm concerned. Everything I'm doing, I believe, is quite legal. Really one of the more peaceful public protests in Montreal. I mean, yes, there's some, you know, somewhat hard-hitting picket sign slogans and chalk slogans, but they're entirely truthful. You know, it's an unfortunate fact that Unitarian Universalists do in fact try to cover up and hide child sex abuse, pedophilia and rape, and say nothing of